my bookish friends. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I thought it would be fun to discuss how I personally rate and review books, as well as kind of give you a little how-to of how to rate your own books. First, I wanted to discuss how I personally choose my star ratings. I'll be honest, I kind of just go off of vibes. I really want to get more like scientific with my star rating for the future. A channel, I'll link them down below, that I really like the way they rate is Two to Ramble podcast. They like have categories and they rate each of the categories, and then for their overall star rating they find like I think it's the average of the categories. So they do stuff such as emotional impact, plot, world building, etc. Really, I'll be honest, I kind of just go based on feelings, which isn't the most like professional way, I guess, to find my stars, but it's what's been working for me for a long time. So we'll see what happens, I guess. But the way that I personally choose my stars right now is a 1-star. I don't really rate books 1-star. If it's going to be a 1-star, that's most likely a DNF. Those are books that I just like, I'm not connecting to the characters. I'm not connecting to the plot. I don't care really at all. Or like literally nothing's happening. I've discovered about myself that I'm not a cozy reader. I need some sort of plot. So typically the books I DNF are books that kind of have that cozier vibe to them. Yeah, I think I've only DNF'd like 18 books total. So if I did give 1-stars, it would probably be my DNFs. So there would really only be a couple of them. And then 2-stars, usually what happens with my 2-stars is it's books that I finish them and I give them 3 stars. And I'm like, this book was okay. But then the further I get from the actual rating, I realize that I didn't love it. So I usually bump those down to 2. Usually those are books that I read and I didn't really like. I don't know if I have an example off the top of my head, but usually my 2-stars are the books that like I read them and I am not sure why I read them. And then 3 stars, 3 for me can either mean I liked it or I disliked it. It just kind of depends on the book. Usually that's where my written reviews come into play. Sometimes a 3-star means it was good. I would recommend it, but it wasn't for me. So like an example of that would be Atmosphere. I'm pretty sure I rated it 3 stars. Like I know that that book is good. It's just not a book for me. But then sometimes it's books that are like bad, but I don't know if it's because it's not for me. I don't know. 3 is one of those that's like very weird for me because sometimes it's that I didn't like it, and sometimes it's that it's good. I just don't think it was my book. And 4 stars are usually books that I really, really liked, but they have little flaws. So like an example of that would be Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. I really, really liked that book. I related to the characters a lot. I loved the plot. But there was just too many like typos and little errors and mistakes that took me out of the story, which made me dock a star. I physically cannot give that book 5 stars. And then a 5-star book, those are like the top notch, best of the best. We'll always recommend them. We'll always want to reread them. Those are like the memorable books. Usually those are vibes based because sometimes I finish a book and I just have that like reader's high and I rate it 5 stars. I will be honest, I'm someone that I go in and I tweak my stars sometimes later because it's okay to change your mind. It is super real to finish a book and be so caught up in the moment that you're like, yep, this is the best thing I've ever read. And then you get asked about it a week later and you're like, I don't even remember the fact that I read that. So that is okay. But anywho, as far as book reviews themselves, I kind of have a structure that I personally follow. I go overall thoughts. So like, did I like it? Yes or no? Just real quick thoughts. And then I usually talk about the characters, the plot, any like subplot type thing. So like, I don't know if it had a cool magic system, if it reminded me of other books, etc. And then I have basically a recap, and then a would I recommend it / would I reread it, and that's usually my last paragraph. That being said, your reviews can be as long or as short as you want them. I personally like writing slightly longer reviews because it helps me then recommend books for people later, because I read on average about 50 plus books a year. There's no way I would remember the plot of every single book I've ever read. And once again, like I said, there are books that I think were bad that weren't bad, it's just they weren't for me, but I would still recommend them to people I know. So I found that this structure of writing my reviews helps me to then remember what happened to later tell people. Like, it's just a good little refresher, to be honest. But anywho, so I just finished these summer storms. Oh, another thing about writing reviews, you should really try hard to make your review spoiler free. If you are going to put spoilers, something I like to do is I'll put spoilers in all caps after my who I would recommend it for paragraph. So like this is the last like legitimately last paragraph. Um, and I put spoilers in all caps, and then I'll go ahead and discuss my spoilers. That way, in case people, especially for books I rate kind of poorly, sometimes I'll put spoilers to kind of like rant. But I feel like you should not put that in the body paragraph. But anywho, so we have my review here for these summer storms. I kind of started typing this up off camera a little bit earlier, but I think I'm going to settle on a 4-star review. Okay, so what I've got so far for my overview is I really liked this book. I liked that there were so many deep and thought-provoking lines, and honestly, I underlined a lot. I never do that. I am going to put, though, that the first half of this book was way better. I forgot how to spell all of a sudden. But to be honest, these summer storms, I think I'm going to settle on a 3.5. These summer storms started out as a book that I really, 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 really loved. But then, like, the longer it took me to read it, it just kind of, I got really unimmersed in the story. And the longer I kind of sat with it, the more I was like, I don't know that I love this story as much as I initially thought I did. Which kind of sucks, but that's real life, So I think I'm gonna put that first. Okay, and then so second paragraph here, we got the stuff about the family. I am going to go ahead and change what I wrote because I wrote this earlier before I even finished the book. I was doing like an example for a video, but I have since scrapped that video. So, anywho, so let's just get rid of all of that. I will be honest, I'm not sure I loved the family in this one, so I'm gonna say that. Okay, so I went ahead and put, I thought the characters were a little unlikable, other than maybe Emily. She's the youngest sister, which I knew this was a toxic family going into it, but like, come on. No one was redeemable, and I'm sorry, but the romance gave me the ick, especially near the ending. Anywho, basically there wasn't a single character that stood out to me. All of them like had a kind of interesting subplot, but I didn't really care about any of them. In the beginning I did. And I was like still really, really obsessed with it. By the time their like trial started, I just stopped caring. Okay, the next paragraph would be the plot. I'm going to mention that I enjoyed the beginning of the book a lot. Like whenever they were doing kind of everyone was coming home. But then once it got to the inheritance games portion, I just kind of lost interest. I think I am going to go ahead and mention too that I thought the games were kind of poorly executed. I don't believe that's a spoiler. It basically is described as the inheritance games, but that was something that really took me out of the story. The games themselves were just really trivial. Like they just felt silly. Like it was an added plot device just cuz. Okay, so my next sentence here might be a little bit of a spoiler. I basically just said that the ending really pissed me off. It kind of felt like I wasted all of my time. I don't think it's a spoiler, but could be interpreted as that. Basically, I just wasn't happy with how the book ended. But anywho, if we're following I have like a little cheat sheet here of how I write my reviews. If we're following my current like regular structure, we would talk about plots part 2, any feelings felt. I feel like I covered that pretty well in my regular plots portion. So I'm going to go ahead and write my recap portion. I usually just combine that with my what I recommend / what I reread it. So okay, so I just said basically I'm really happy that I did read this book, even though I didn't love it. But that very well could be a me issue. It took me literally so long to read this book. I just had so many other reads that I kind of picked up in between when I started and when I finished this. It was a really busy reading month for me. But I would still recommend The Summer Storms. I thought it was worth the read. It was very thought-provoking. And I think it kind of had that like really good family drama, spicy craziness if you're looking for something like that. And I probably would reread it, but in the sense that I would flip through and like find those paragraphs that really, really stood out to me. I don't think I would fully reread it though. But yeah, that is my review. I think I mentioned this earlier, but obviously you don't have to write such long reviews. I have a friend that for her Taylor Jenkins Reid atmosphere review, all she wrote was "What the helly, Taylor." Those kind of reviews are obviously so good too. This is just kind of my structure and how I like to do it. Like I said, I find it's helpful for when you're trying to go back in time and kind of figure out what you thought about a book, like really, really in depth, because sometimes I do read those reviews later and I'm like, what was I talking about? But also, you don't have to review at all. If you want to just leave star reviews, that is so okay. But again, I find that context kind of helps, especially future you. But also, like, reviews are so low pressure. Write them for you. Like, yes, other people will probably read and look at them, but I treat my reviews as like a little reading journal diary of like what I thought, what I was feeling. Whether or not other people read it, that's up to them. But anywho, I will go ahead and post this. So now we have my review. Some other places you can share your reviews beyond just Goodreads is there are other apps such as such as Fable or Storygraph that you could upload reviews to as well. But also you can put your reviews on things like Amazon, Best Buy, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, Walmart, etc. Any place you buy a book. Especially for indie books, this really, really helps them boost their sales, and it's really nice for indie authors to kind of get that engagement like that. But my preferred place is definitely Goodreads. I am like such a diehard Goodreads girly. I am so far in deep to Goodreads. I don't think I could ever go to another app if I'm just being honest. But you could also like obviously make a book Instagram or a book YouTube like this one. But yeah, overall, I think just sharing your thoughts and opinions and reviews on books is really fun. I hope you learned a little bit about how to write a book review. If you have any other questions, any other things you feel like I didn't cover, feel free to leave me a comment down below and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch